Bomba-dee-da, 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 bomba-dee-da,
Good morning, happy
bomba-dee-da,
trails. How we doing?
Happy trails, everybody, and this beautiful morning filled with coffee and amarula and sunshine. You got coffee in there, Blaine?
I
Blaine,
do. No
Blaine has a
Amarula.
tendency to not,
No
you can never
Amarula.
see in his cup because we're not sure that it's coffee. We don't know.
It's
Too
invisible.
He
There you
blows
go.
at it, yeah.
Nice. The
And it's so
invisible cup. I
hot.
love it.
Hey, so today is a very special day for our listeners and viewers out there. We have two friends and guests with us today. They are from the Plex Family Investment Group, Maricela Soberanes and Chris Linger. They're a couple. They just maintain different names and just keep things easy. And I think it's because Chris doesn't want to roll his R, really. It's a little hard for him to do that. But
Oh,
no.
Espanol también, son.
But Chris and Maricela have been friends of ours. We met them through the Sumrok, initially through the Sumrok ecosystem 3 years ago, probably. And it's funny because when you travel in these different packs, all of a sudden you start seeing each other at different places. Well, the next place we saw them was at a Grant Cardone 10X event. And then it was a real estate event. And then it was a 10X coaching event. And come to find out that Chris and Maricela are heavily involved into the 10X system. And they're going to tell you a little bit about that today, as well as, you know, some of the Sumrok stuff. There's where they started. They can mention some of that. So we want to welcome you both. Thank you for being on the call this morning.
Thank you.
No, thanks for having us. We appreciate
You
the
forgot
invite.
about, oh, sorry, Chris, you forgot about the couples retreat in Bahamas too.
Yes.
We met there.
Couples retreat. Yeah, I try to erase that from my mind. That you know what I loved about that. I don't know if I ever told you guys this is that it got a little emotional for us that first time, right? And
all of us. Yeah.
a lot of people, but in particular me, big teddy bear guy. So our son's watching some of the flicks on social media, and he called Ann. He says, "Where are you at, and what's going on?" And Ann says, "Why? What do you mean?" She goes, "I just saw Dad crying on Grant Cardone Instagram." I'm like, what the hell are they doing?
You know it, real life. They're
Yeah.
sharing everything. No, but thank you so much for having us. This has been a journey for all of us, I'm sure. And we're just happy to be in different places, and we just see the repetition and people that's dedicated and want to do this, invest in time and money to just put ourselves in rooms where we've made amazing people and continue to grow. We always tell that we don't want to ever be the big fish in a small pond. So therefore we go to different oceans, and we have been very lucky to be in front of just super successful people, and it's just we just continue to stretch our limits and stretch the way we think, and just learn. Everywhere we learn, we learn. I mean, everywhere we go, we learn something different. And even though we go to some of the same events, that what we see is that you cannot duplicate a room just because the name of the event is the same. You meet different people, there will be different content, and even if you just get one thing out of those conferences, or connect with an amazing person, that makes that for us, that makes the difference, and we just continue to go and show up.
There was like 3 nuggets in that, Blaine. We could probably
I know.
stop the podcast in the first
Well, thanks, guys,
the
for
first
coming
2
on.
minutes. Yeah. Hey, great. Thanks, Maricela. We're done.
That was one thing that I noticed too, is I go to these same events, and I feel so different because the first time you go, you're like, you don't know anybody, and all of a sudden you meet some people, and again, the whole room is so different, and now I feel like I have something to give back, and so not only am I getting stuff, but I'm also able to give now that I have knowledge and experience, and so I love that point.
One of the things that they say is that if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. And Maricela, you just put that in a different perspective for everybody, the different oceans and different fish. And you're right. You're just jumping from ocean to ocean, and there's always a bigger fish. There's always a bigger fish, and there's always bigger information. So, Chris, I want to ask you as we start, tell us how you and Maricela, or if you did it separately, you can both answer. How'd you get started in multifamily, or just your path start in investing, period?
Sure. So thank you. The start for myself was active duty military, picked up a house with a duty station, and then got moved with the military and held on to the house. It was 2007, bad time to sell. Left the house on the market for about a year, was able to absorb that cost for the year, and then said, all right, it's time. Like I have to rent this thing out. As soon as I started renting it, I got like that fever of, whoa, this is kind of cool, little income. All right, let me figure this out. And uh, I'll say, unfortunately, in the investing side of things, I ended up overseas for probably the next 7 years, off and on. I was in DC, had some training. Like it just didn't make sense to purchase something else right then. And because I was using the VA loan to buy it, got in for next to nothing, and then keep it and keep going. Well, I rented that house for 15 years before we ended up selling it.
Wow.
I met Maricela in 2017, and the conversations that we had kind of triggered the bug to do more than just a single family home, more than just getting started. I still only had that one house. I was going back to the States, getting ready to maybe pick up another one, and we kind of shifted gears a little bit, for me anyways. I'll let Maricela talk about her start, because it's very interesting in that regard, more interesting than mine, I say.
Yeah, Maricela, and before you go on, we're dealing with two veterans here, by the way, people. So thank you both for your service. Always love our veterans and those that have served, and you guys have done such a wonderful job with that, and then coming out of the service and doing great things for other people as well. So Maricela, take us away.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Speaking of veterans, I'm from Mexico originally, and when I signed up to join the Navy, I had high criticism from a lot of my family and my Mexican friends were like, why are you serving a country? It's not even yours. And, why are you getting your citizen through that? I'm like, I'm not even getting my citizen. I actually joined the Navy with a doctorate degree, and I had experience as an anesthesia provider. So it was my way to give back to this great nation that gave me so many opportunities being an immigrant. But how I got started in the real estate, I actually, it came out of necessity. Being in this country by myself, I didn't really have a support system. So I had graduated as a nurse, and I was earning what I thought it was like so much money. And I started saving, and I pretty much studied what the Americans do. And I saw you go to college, you buy a nice car and buy a nice house. So I didn't really want it.
And that's it.
And a nice car to me was some used car, but I'm like, oh, this is awesome. I can actually drive. Don't have to take the bus anymore. So it actually started saving and bought a duplex, put $12,000 down, and I live in one side and rented the other side. And that was my first acquisition. Really, I didn't know what I was doing. I was doing house hacking without even knowing. But in my mind, it makes sense that if the other side could help me pay, if I couldn't work, then at least I have my house and pay for. Again, this was out of just having to provide for myself. And then I saw that that house was being paid pretty much entirely by somebody else, and I like that. So I moved away when I started my master's degree. I went to grad school in Tennessee, so I have to move. And I rented the other side, and the house was still being paid by somebody else. And so I kind of like that. So when I finished my school, I moved back into the house. And long story short, I ended up paying it off, paying some student loans that I have. And I started accumulating just pretty much everything I could work, overtime, night shifts, whatever. I just started accumulating. And in 2016, I was deployed. And when I was deployed, I had pretty much a lot of white time in my calendar. So I was very purposeful to educate myself on how to build wealth. I studied Kiyosaki and his advisors, and I was absorbing all that information. And when I came back, I thought, well, if I can buy a house like this every year, and 30 years I'll be fixed, I'll be good to go, and I don't have to go to work. I will work if I can. I'm just trying to build another source of income without me having to be there. And that's what I did. I started buying, and as soon as I started buying, when you start looking for the red car, you start seeing a lot of red cars.
Right.
I start thinking, well, if I did it with a duplex, I can do a fourplex, and that's exactly what I was looking for. And so the lady that sold me that fourplex was also selling another one, so I ended up buying 2 fourplexes at the same time. Section 8, highly occupied, but I had to learn like hands-on. It was no time to learn. It was like, here they are, here are the keys.
Wow.
And that was really interesting. And that's actually when Chris came aboard, because I was like, wow, I have 2, I was fine. Now I have 8 rentals, calling for me. I'm like pushing my patient back to the OR, the operating room, and they're like, I have that phone ring, and I'm like, I know there's something emergency there, but I have to stay focused. But it took a lot of discipline to divide my brain and survive pretty much. So I managed from this to I was working in a different state, and those rentals were in Austin. So we had to create a lot of systems to in place, and that's what helped us build our virtual team pretty much. And then when Chris came and the team, he was finishing up his MBA, and he took me as a project, literally business project, and he optimized a lot of our systems, and it was a click from there. So, and that's when we united our portfolios as well.
So Blaine, I just need a Chris.
You need a Chris. Absolutely.
I need a Chris.
So
Yeah,
a little
that seems
ad
like
that
we
we
all
can
need
tell
one of
you
those.
is there's a great book out there, Rocket Fuel by Gino Wickman.
Oh yeah.
And we really embodied that book in our relationship, business and personal. It's all about, there's a visionary and an integrator. And if you get the right 2 people together, that stuff, it takes off like rocket fuel. That's the quick short story of it. But it's each of you has your roles. You identify those roles, and you try to stay within your roles. One of the things that we've had in the past was she's our visionary, right? And she wants to move on to the next thing, and let's go get the next thing. Let's go do something more. And I'm like, hold on. Every now and then I have to go stop for a second and say, hold on, before we go there, I need to finish this up. And she's like, you're holding me back, right? And I'm like, I need a few minutes just to clean this up and make sure that we're good so that we can move on to that next thing. And so she'll come back, help out, and then we go on together. But it's that understanding in the team that you can't just both be pulling in opposite directions. And it's worked well for us. We just work very well in that capacity.
That's really cool. Really cool.
That's great. Yeah, we do a lot of that in our dental offices too, and we've done some Gino Wickman stuff too to help organize my office and get it headed in the right direction, and everybody working together. That's good stuff. That's really good stuff. But it's just so important to do that and head in. Again, like you said, be headed all in the same direction. Different jobs, different things, but coordinate at the same time. So,
yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Maricela. Go ahead.
Yeah, so how we actually went from the small portfolio, we were able to build 35 apartments. That's what we had between 2 of us, without bringing investors, without partnerships. And in 2020, Chris was retiring, actually retired end of 2020. And I lost my contract in the hospital because all the mess that was going on the emergency and urgent surgeries were taking place, and a lot of my job was pretty much pushed because I'm a traveler, so I'm I come and do a cover for when excess surgeries cannot be covered. So there was not a lot of excess, so a lot of people lost their job. I lost my contract, which forced us to take a look at what our portfolio look like. Is this really a thing that is going to survive? How can we optimize it? We were signing all the loans, so there was a lot of liability. And what we wanted to continue the cash flow. It was cash flowing nicely, and it was it was very low leverage, all by yourself. So it was a very comfortable place. But when there's comfortable, there's just also no growth. So COVID really forced us to take a look at the numbers and see, is this what we want? We were like, you're retiring. I was cutting back on my hours at the hospital. We were grandparents for the first time. So you can just imagine these 2 grandparents holding the baby, rocking the rocking chair on the front porch. That's kind of what was coming. And we we're like, wait, We're not ready for that. We
We're-
still have more on us. So we decided to start like more intentionally the multifamily. And that's when we joined the Sumrok in late 2020. We did some online and then in person when the events opened up in 2021. And we did the same thing for Cardone. And we just, pretty much we learned how to analyze the properties, how to, make the connections to find the properties. And then what Cardone taught us is how to think bigger, how to, bring other people, how to help other people by doing bigger projects that have more meat on the bone per se. And that's how we transitioned. We sold those 35 apartments. Actually, the first time that I met in person, Grant Cardone, I asked him, hey, Grant, we have this nice portfolio, it's paying us well. We're there, but now you're telling us to buy 100 plus, this beautiful properties in a multi-million dollars. So how can we transition? And of course, he doesn't tell you all the details, which now we know all the details. However, he told me or told us, you need to sell your trash. Your trash is keeping you busy. You're never going to scale. You have too much in your hands and you need time. You need time to do the connections that you need to make the connections, and you need to start looking at bigger things. Just stop getting entertained with that bullshit. It's not going to get you anywhere. So like on the plane back, we're like, okay, that's it. He told us to sell the trash. We put the portfolio together up for sale, and that freed us so much time. And at that point, we were able to triple our money from where we invested, and we started rolling that into multifamily. And Chris, I'll let you take it from here, but that was for us a big eye opening to see how fast we were able to grow, bring in other in partnerships, and then doing diversification of assets. And that was fabulous for us.
Just by thinking bigger, just by stretching and bigger, because you said you were 32 units and you exploded from there.
Yeah, we went
from 35 units in 2020 to, by the end of 22, we had 1,900 apartments as general partners.
Wow.
We were in a total of 3,000 apartments because we had some passive investments as well. And that transition, it really, like, we had Brad's training that taught us the syndication model. We had Grant teaching us to think bigger, use it like a business. And we went from looking at $3 and $6 million deals that we felt like we could do by ourselves with our current investors to actually the first two deals we closed were 23 million and 26 million with a team of general partners. And so we started talking about the fact that we, with 35 units, we own the pie, that we own the whole pie.
Yeah.
But when we opened it up a little bit, we could sliver more little slivers in there, and all of a sudden that pie gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Even though we own a small percentage of some of these apartments, we own a lot more. We have a lot bigger net worth now than we
That's
did.
a giant pie. That's a giant pie.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you just keep sliding more pieces in.
Yeah.
And
that's the bigger thinking thing. I mean, it's so important. Again, go ahead.
And for some people that have something like that, have a few properties on their own, it's really difficult for them to let it go, thinking that I'm going to have all these other people, I'm not be able to make decisions. And that's okay. Like for us, we were so involved, like I said, we were self-managing and our time was dedicated to that. Like, now we still, because we did that a lot of diversification early, we bought self-storage, mobile home parks, and we also invested in notes. So our portfolio keeps cash flowing. We have less liability. We have more diversification, not only in the assets, but also the markets and the teams. We still invest passively, but now we are looking to invest passively only with the people that we coach, because we coach other people to how to do what we did. And so for us, it's a fun place to be. It's not like, oh my God, I can't make the decision of what color to paint this cabinets. I don't care about that. And that's what a lot of people, when they have a house, they put all of their thoughts in one house and they can't seem to let it go. It's like, if you let it go, like Cardone tells you, first thing when you buy a property, just take off something. And most people think like, I'm gonna put all this stuff, like take shit away. It immediately makes it more organized. You have less pains, and that's just the way we see it. It's much more simple. And some people overthink even the structure of a deal or like finding your partnership. Like, keep it simple and keep it real. Like, just meet your partners, get to break bread. That's how you find the people to associate yourself with. And then they say the same thing, like, don't overanalyze, don't over renovate, don't over. There's some things that are good to do 10 times, but there's some other things like just do it once and call it fixed.
For sure. Hey, I wanted to ask you guys, what is Upplex? Tell us, what is Upplex and how did you come up with the name and what does it mean to you?
Nice. Thank you so much. That I'm gonna take that question because I actually, so this is a little bit of a long story, but I will explain. When I moved to the States, by being here, I was already up. I was like, man, this is another life. This is a different way of living. And then when I bought my first duplex, it was right next to a school. And when I growing up, we have to move so many times. I went to so many schools that I never make friends or maintain that, the early childhood memories. It was more about packing. And I actually wrote a book about it. We used to have one box, and in that box you you put everything that was yours as a person, as a kid, and it was a lot of us. So we always have these boxes. So when I bought my duplex, I'm like, man, I'm already up, and this is a plex, this is a two things. I was like, I just want to buy houses near the schools so a kid can grow up right there and never has to move, and they can always go to that school. And I just remember looking at the school right across the duplex, and I was like, and there was this lady that used to sit outside and she was the cross guard,
Yeah,
help the
yeah, the
kids.
crossing
I
guard,
was
yeah.
yeah, so like, man, I just want a lot of kids to live here in this apartment because I just figured if they are close to the house, they never have to move. So I just came up with the name, like, if we can create this complexity of businesses and houses that can help families just come up. So Uplex stands for, living up. When we think of bringing our partners, we want to bring you up as a partner, investor, tenant, whatever way we do business with you. We want to bring you up in a complexity of different ways that we can help.
I love that. I've never, in all the years I've known you, I've never asked you, and I've never known what Upplex means, but that is awesome. Bringing those that are surrounding you up with you, putting them in a position where they can prosper, regardless of if it's real estate or education or whatever it is, just
And-
on the come up.
And whether it's a tenant or an investor or a
Yeah.
partner, it works on all aspects.
I love it. I love it.
Cool.
Thanks.
Why education? Why did you guys? Because you really do a lot. I mean, you do so much more than just investing. Like you just mentioned, you've got your group of investors now are the ones that you're spending the time with to say, hey, if we're going to do something, we're going to go to you first before we do anything.
Yeah.
And most of the time, those investors are very loyal. But why are you so enthralled with educating your investors and other people?
So the concept of helping others, it goes right along with the Upplex theme, right?
Yeah.
But on top of that, having been military, we always had mentors, and we've always been mentors along the way. And actually, at my last duty station, I was in charge of the mentoring program for our entire staff of nurses in the hospital. And I was at Balboa, which is a large hospital, and in San Diego. And so with that, we were both of that same mindset of, we like helping people. We don't mind sharing what we know. Like, it doesn't bother us if I actually use this in my MBA, one of the assignments. They were like, what is success to you? And I said, success to me is when somebody who's a junior to me passes me, because it means that I made the trip shorter for them, that they were able to be successful. I'm okay with that. It doesn't bother me. I'm not in competition with somebody who doesn't have the knowledge, and I'm not in competition with somebody who does. There's no reason that we can't work together along the way. And if you decide to break off that relationship, that's fine. That's on you. But I'm more than happy, or we're more than happy to share that information with people. And it fills us when somebody takes action on the stuff that they learned from us or with us. It fills us up that much more that they were able to be successful.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I think that's one of the things that Blaine and I have always tried to do within the podcast is just like we told you at the beginning. This is just extremely real. It's organic. Whatever happens during the hour and a half, whatever we're going to be on, just happens, and there's no rhyme or reason. But one of the things that we've always strived to do is bring out who the people are we're talking with, just like we try to do and share each other ourselves with our viewers and our listeners. It's the same thing. It's it's nice to get to know who you are as a person, because that's important. You know, one of what's the number one thing we do, Blaine? You have to what?
Gotta you gotta like and trust. Like and trust
Know,
the
like, and
people you're
trust.
working with.
Yeah, if you don't know, like, and trust the people that you're going to invest with, then why the hell would you ever give money to somebody like that? So it's extremely important to know who we're dealing with. And I love your story, and I love what you're saying right there, because it makes me draw closer to you two, that I know that you're in this for more than just, hey, let's turn a buck. You know, you're in this to help others. And I think, Maricela, goes back to your story of you know, coming up in the United States, coming from Mexico and giving yourself. Now, you are also a professional, still working, correct?
Yes, I do. I'm not ready to give up my credentials yet. I love it. It puts me in front of potential investors and people that are so consumed in their lives with their hospital. That by the time they get off work, they don't want to think about anything else. They don't have the time to think about anything else. They're, you know, many times, most of them take some time off and they go on vacation. So for us to have the luxury of attending so many events and have this information, we love sharing. And that's one thing that, like, you often find me like just answering questions. I don't even advertise it, but people knows me and they're like, hey, you're the real estate, right? Can I ask you a question? And sometimes it doesn't even pertain to, hey, I want to invest. They just want to, hey, should I buy this house? And so I give that the information. It doesn't have to be something that I'm trying to compare them, you know, that's because we've done the small deals. We walked that path. So for me, I still like working. I love my job. And, you know, for me, when you have the choice to do it or not, it just makes it even more enjoyable. And that's what I want for all the medical professionals, because they're so overworked and inundated with so many politics that I think that most of us can say, if I can just come and do my job, everything will be right. You know, it's just enjoyable. We do medical missions, and it's a huge difference to how we practice. The people appreciate you. People takes care of themselves, and you know, like, there's no all this overhead like politics around it and paperwork. I mean, there's paperwork, but it's just different. And a lot of this, like, I think about 50% of the healthcare providers work as a desk and creating policies for the other ones that are doing the labor. And so, but I still work. Yeah, again, it just puts me in front of a lot of people that I talk and educate about real estate and business.
Awesome. Blaine.
Yeah. Hey, well, I wanted to ask you guys, you do more than just multifamily investing. So tell us a little bit about some of your other investments and why you do them.
Sure. So as Maricela mentioned in the opening, you know, going from a small puddle to a little bit bigger puddle to a pond to a lake, whatever. Along that journey, we met people who specialize in mobile home parks, storage. I even came across some folks that did notes, and over time we saw how these assets have different benefits, that there's different aspects to it that along our journey, we decided, hey, we know, like, and trust this person. We would love to help them with their first deal. And so we ended up going into a storage as a joint venture. Now, that's one thing about us, is that in general, we will, if we go into something new that we've never done before, we're going to do it as a joint venture. We're not going to bring investors with us. So oftentimes that's with new partners as well, depending on the asset or control, I should say, as well. But the storage, we went into that, immediately saw some nice cash flow from that. And we ended up, we enjoyed it. About a year later, we branched out, did a second venture together. And out of those, one of those we sold already. We made a 30% annual profit, annual return on investment. So, you know, nice little turn. We did that in about 13 months on that project. And
did you build that from ground up?
No, these were already established.
No. Okay.
We just helped stabilize them, bring them to market. And then it turned out that we were able to sell it at a nice little profit. So we said, sure, like, that makes sense. The mobile home parks, same thing. We met the person actually in the same group, partner with them. And then from there, we branched out, did our own with another set of partners, also joint venture. And now we're in 4 parks. The other 2 are with the first person that we've known for a long time. We like their setup. And he has that same kind of mentality of continuing to grow and expand and pick up more parks. So we've been able to partner with them on syndications. So we're able to do bigger deals now, right? Whereas those other ones, the first two in each of those were somewhat smaller. But again, nice cash flow out of those. We're hitting somewhere between, I'll say between 10 and 12% annual. The partnership that we did on the with the second park that we did, we actually are hitting almost a 2% return monthly, which is amazing. Just an
Yeah.
amazing.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and we just got such a great deal on it. That one is a great. It was an amazing opportunity because it actually was a friend of Maricela's that she went to college with, heard her on a podcast, and reached out and said, got talking, reconnected, and then at the end of the conversation, they're like, "Well, we might have a mobile home park we're interested in, and we were wondering if you might be interested in doing that too." And that grew into a partnership that they were also Navy. That couple was Navy. We're Navy.
Oh,
And
wow,
the
cool.
person
And
we
the
bought it
seller.
from was actually retired Navy.
That's cool.
So it was
That's
just
quite a combo.
it was a perfect set for making this a success. So we understand each other's mindsets and we're ready to roll into that next thing. So
I
So
found that
are those?
I was just gonna
Let me
say,
talk, Matt.
then one quick. I found that along this journey, you just meet. There's so many people. Like it's crazy. You know, Blaine. We've had one of his friends from Cedar Rapids that goes and flips apartments and houses on earlier on in an interview, and he had some things to share with us that I was like, wow, I've never heard somebody say that before. And you just meet people. Next, you know somebody that's doing the storage, and it's crazy. It's kind of like you've opened a giant door and
Yeah.
people just keep walking through it. So Blaine, go ahead. That's all I want to say. I'm not.
Okay, that's glad.
But enough about. Let me say.
Yeah, I did. Are those like when you get those mobile home park? I'm kind of intrigued because I don't know much about them. But are these like value add type? Would you consider it kind of a value add where you buy it and you kind of fix things up to make it nicer so people want to stay there? Or
we don't look for the typical mobile home park that people are thinking when they think mobile home park. The white beater t-shirts, the cops are there every day,
right?
15 broken down cars outside of one. We look to make sure that we've got a clean asset or something that we can get clean very quick. We don't have any problems with doing some deferred maintenance. There isn't a whole lot of extra value add you can do to a mobile home park. I will say other than maybe an expansion or filling in empty spots with a home that might be park owned for a minute, but then we sell it to the incoming tenant rather than own the homes. We don't want to own the homes because that's a lot of maintenance, a lot of extra cost.
Right.
Because they like a car, they break down a little easier, fall apart a little quicker than a house. And so we don't want to own them. And that's part of how, like, as we pick up a property, if it has park owned homes, we'll sell those off, owner finance, or have them go get a loan from the bank. And then that's extra cash flow for us as well, that we don't necessarily write into the project. We make sure that it cash flows as is. Yeah, it has a much lower expense ratio than multifamily. You still can depreciate some of the park, even with like the foundations and all that stuff that you put in there, whatever you put in. And trying to think of other sides to that. The cash flow is just really nice in comparison. But go ahead, Maricela.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you talk to, I guess most investors, we've been having to do quite a bit of education, especially we have a group of investors from Colombia and they have no idea what this RV thing is or the park. So they invested, like we bought about, everything that we needed in a race in about 17 minutes. Like that's how hungry those investors were. And we were super excited and happy to have them. So when one of the representatives came, we took them to the park and he was just like, are we making money out of this? Like, yeah. The houses, the houses don't look like amazing, like, the A-class that they are you seeing, and like, but those are houses, the family, that we have rules, we implement rules, but we don't have to fix this. Like, he's like, can we fix that? I'm like, no, that's their houses. Like, we have to explain the concept but that they're seeing the cash flow every month, so they're like super happy. So when they, it's and they still get the depreciation. So a lot of it is understanding, and for us, it's like we did it once with our own money. We did it again with our small joint venture, 2 or 3 actually. One of them is my brother, and he loves that monthly cash flow. And that one we actually bought it with seller finance. It's been like ready to refinance. We are like cash flowing highly, but right now the lending world might not work. So that might be something that we look into putting in our fund, because we know the property and it's cash flowing beautifully. So we're always looking to, to find, there's a lot of money that we made in the real estate, especially with all these little components. And you are right, Matt. You meet so many people that they're crushing it where they are. So the thing for us is like, just don't forget to diversify. It's good to have different pieces from different puzzles, and just put your own beautiful picture.
Yeah, I agree. The diversification thing. This is something that I just kind of came across. They talk about when you buy your stocks or whatever. The American dream is put all your stuff in a 401k and in the stock market, and you got to diversify your stock market. Have stocks from big companies and small companies and local and across overseas. But kind of a better way to diversify is not just doing all stocks, right? I mean, doing some real estate, and you talk about notes. I don't know anything about that, but just that's a great way of diversifying your retirement, and I think that's a good point to get across to a lot of people, and I think that'll help maybe stimulate them to go, oh yeah, I mean, that is a good thing to do, and I will invest with you because I know, like, and trust you.
Right.
Just to clarify, so we don't invest in the stock market. All of our monies, we like to play with it in the real estate. So we have diversification across different assets within the real estate. And you hear you hear even Grant Cardone saying, oh, the diversification bullshit, blah blah. Diversification within the real estate. That's what we do, and that has been cash flowing for us. We are like, this is our 4th year not paying taxes legally because of the structure that we have, and we still, like, one of the LLCs that we had last year, I think it was over $500,000 credit that we could take as a depreciation, because we accumulate so much depreciation. So that if anyone is like looking for, hey, I want to increase my wealth, that is the way to do it, because you're legally avoiding the taxes, and that you're paying with your money today, and instead of like having your money 40 years later when you're like mental capacity has decreased by the second year. So it just happens. So when we talk about diversification, we like to play with our money today, all within the real estate.
My uncle is actually a CPA, and when we talked about going to syndications, he's like, you're not going to do some of that cost segregation bullshit, are you? And I was like, absolutely.
Yeah,
like,
we are.
Are you kidding me?
And I still to this day don't understand why he thinks it's crazy, because if you're taxed at a 33 or a 37% tax bracket, you get that break today. And then even when they do recapture on it, it's capped out at like 25%. So you're still making a benefit. You're getting the spread, just like your lender does when he borrows money to lend to you. You're getting that spread, and you got that discount way back when you first took it. So I don't know what he's talking about when he's like, that bullshit. But it's been a great asset, a great tool for us. Saved hundreds of thousands of dollars over the last 4 years.
It's got to be an old school philosophy, like maybe the time that they have to invest in it. I mean, maybe that's it. Because why would anybody be opposed to that? I mean, it's crazy.
Yep.
There's I recently read a book, the psychology of wealth, and that's something about how, like, think about it. The 401k is about 45 something years old. Like, that's how a lot of people in that era, they started like driving that message. Hey, you need to put your money in retirement accounts, lock it away. That's what they thought they were doing the right thing. Pay your taxes, be a good citizen. Like, if you think of how old this person is, you probably can come back to historically where we were. Now, if you're talking to some millennium, they don't want houses, they don't want real estate, they want something that is like technologically related, that the startups and stuff like that, because they've seen that magic. They've seen how they invest right now this money, and they come back it with 10 times that money so quickly. So they probably would never buy a house. So depending on in that book, if you haven't read it, and if you are raising capital or you're looking for partners, like understanding where their ideas of wealth comes from, amazing. And it talks a lot about the market. We don't do market again, but the content is very applicable. I guess that's one of the things that I didn't do it the American way, the paying taxes, because I also saw a lot of Americans paying their taxes. And listen, federal taxes or businesses, over 3,000 apartments that we own across 4 different states. They're putting people to work. We are paying taxes in that way. We're providing housing. So it's not like we're not helping the economy, but personally, when it comes to you, like if your business are paying taxes, why should you? I get up and work, and this, if I didn't have to get up and work, then I don't pay taxes, right? But most people, they just feel so like, hey, I'm doing my part, I'm paying taxes. So that's where I think I got it wrong, American ways.
Hey, let me ask you this, because you mentioned investors. So at this particular time in investing, there's a lot of investors that are very gun shy. They got into a couple deals, the market shit the bed, the interest rates went through the roof, and everybody's like, I haven't seen a distribution in this apartment complex that I invested in. I've been in it for 3 years. I don't know that I'm going to get my money out of it. What are you saying to your investors about the current market and what's coming? I know that we're being briefed by Brad, we're being briefed by Grant. What are you relaying to your investors?
I'm going to take first just a second and say one of our main staples is it's a business cycle, and it's a cycle because it comes back around, right? And you just have to trust the system, trust history is going to be repeated into the future. That right now we're at this dip of not being able to provide those returns in a cash flow state. But when that cycle comes back around to where the interest rates come down, the cap rates compress again, we're going to have the same type of final return on the property, provided that you were able to enact your business plan as you expected. Mm-hmm. If you continued, because the interest rates did not necessarily affect how you made your business perform, right? If you continue that business process, granted, there's some areas where rents went a little flatter or they went backwards. Well, you had a bad business plan if you didn't anticipate that. We have one property that we've actually increased our NOI 40%. Like, these are the things that we're telling people, is that we have one property, we've increased the NOI over 40% in less than 2 years. When the market turns around, we're going to crush it on that. So don't stress over the not having the distributions on that property, right? But everything's deal specific as far as the conversation, but that's a real big, strong base that we utilize.
Are you telling your people, are you thinking a year and a half, 2 years? What are you because I know there's people got to be asking you.
Absolutely. And what I say is we can't tell for sure. Everybody for the last probably 8 months has been saying they're going to drop, they're going to cut rates. Well, now we're starting to see it. There was a huge drop on Friday, right? A huge drop, 30 basis points on Friday that came down after having already come down almost 50. And so, like, we see the turn happening, the market sees it happening. They're like, we're going to help push this. I don't care if the Fed, if the Fed drops them officially or not, we're going to make this happen, right? Because it's time. And so we see that happening. Back in early 22 is when the first increase happened, if I remember correctly. And they started saying it's usually 2 years after the first increase that they start to decrease. Well, right now we're past that 2-year mark. They went a little bit further. So is there a reasonable expectation to believe that in 2025 rates will be coming back down to something, they may stabilize in the 5s instead of the 2s, but they'll be coming back down, and that's going to help compress that market. So that is a large part of the conversation. Yes, is 2025. There were different sayings that were being said along the way, and I know that there's one right now that's like, if you can get to 2027, it's heaven, type of thing. And I'm like, that's a little far out. I think that will be, they might be right. We might still be in a great market, but I think that we can get to 25. you'll be alive. And if you're alive in 25, you'll survive. You know, that's the
In
type of
26.
input that I'm
Poet.
thinking.
We have a poet on here.
Blaine, you need to think of one for 26, Blaine. Work on that one.
26
Oh,
is full of a fix. I don't know.
Maricela, what about you?
So yeah, these are some of the conversations we're having with investors, and like you have to be real, you have to be there. Like you can't just hide and pretend that nothing is happening. That's the biggest thing. To just, even if it's no good news, you have to deliver the news, and that's what we sign up for. Or the people that invested with us, they trusted us. They are going pretty much like, what do you do that works? Okay, I'm gonna do the same thing, and it's risky. Like we personally don't like those risks. However, anytime that you are seeing an investment opportunity, those are projections, and the projections are based out of the best historical knowledge that we have. So, what happened in 21, 22, there's the money was cheap, the cap rates were, they were favorable for the sellers to sell at a good price. And so if you make assumptions that your rents were going to continue to grow, that and your business plan, the way that you could optimize all of the expenses, now all of a sudden you find yourself in 2023 and 2024, like with a capital stack where you have debt that is super high, like the only component here, the only person or no group making money is the banks, the lenders, and that's what we want to remove lenders out of the equation, at least for this year. We did it for last year, and as much as we could, decrease the loan to value, the leverage that we were borrowing from the lenders, because we prefer to pay the investors. And so if you have that ability, we to raise more, and it still makes sense. But overall, what we tell our investors is like, if you can just leave your money parked here, seriously, you just expect there's no returns. And now in some of the properties, we are still cash flowing, and that's what we love, the diversification that we have going on. Notes, every month they pay. It is pure cash flow. So if we know our investors, if some of the investors are like, I don't care about cash, I can go and do another surgery. It's okay, like that, I can park my money there. So we know our investors. So knowing what your investor needs, then you match them with what kind of investing they could be doing. So we do a lot of education because of that. My brother, he just wants cash flow him and his wife, they want to know that how much is coming. So like the second that it doesn't come to that in that way, they're like questioning. So I know them. So guess what? They're invested in things that are cash flowing. So that's part of the big conversations before they invest. Once that they invest, like we, keep the door open. We're always open to, we send these reports that are so elaborated. We take time in the back to help them understand. This is what that means. Let's plain English, like this is what it is. No distributions. I will say no distribution for the next quarter for sure. And then probably, so we try to digest that information and provide it in a more understanding way. And most of us investors are in that position, that are okay with, okay, that's fine. That makes sense. We're losing the capital. At this point, we don't see that happening. Okay, that's it. That's all I needed to hear. Sometimes it's just having that conversation in a way that that's the way they understand it.
Yeah.
And addressing the concerns.
The most important thing is continue to have a conversation regardless of how your project is doing. That's what's going to continue the trust, is to have open communication. Don't go hide. Don't be ashamed. Like, hey, it happens, but you have to have the conversation. You can't let people's minds just wander.
Yeah.
You have to let them know what's going on. Keep them aware of the situation.
What else you got, Matt? That's some good information.
Oh man, I keep going. I was giving you an opportunity to ask a couple questions.
I was wondering. They answered most of mine. Wondered about their other investments, what they thought of the market, and that kind of stuff.
I love it. Hey guys,
we could talk for hours, but
the largest investment you've made, what was it? How big was it? Or how big is it? Because you might be in the middle of it.
Larger, it really has been the time and our education.
I was going to say the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's the order. Like, you invest in yourself, and invest in your business, and invest in real estate. And that's what we've done. And I think I don't know. I mean, we created other businesses for ourselves. We have a virtual assistant placing agency. I'm sorry, I can't even talk.
Placement.
And we help business owners grow their revenue with the whole circle will be for them to invest in real estate. And we are able to help a lot of business owners. We coach business to just to increase their net worth by the marketing and sales. We are business coaches with a 10X community, and that all of that comes back to create your money, accumulate it, and invest it. Those are the rules of money. So when we make it simple and we make it so that we can optimize systems, and instead of doing all the non revenue producing tasks, you can go and have those conversations, go get more deals, go get more contracts. Eventually you're gonna return and come back with more cash, and the cash then is invested in real estate. That's a whole cycle that we have created. So investing in ourselves and in our business, that has been the biggest investment, because we can help more people.
Okay. Biggest deal you've been involved in.
Chris.
Biggest
Rephrase
deal.
that a little bit, man.
I know, right?
So that can have different connotations, right? We have one deal that was 666 apartment units. It was 5 properties in 2 states.
Combined.
Wow.
They rolled it together.
It was 2 portfolios, yeah. And so, in that regard, that's one of our biggest deals.
What was that money wise?
60 million. It was
Okay.
all class C properties, and they're doing well. One of them refinanced probably 9 months to a year ago. And the other one is really close to refinancing for that. But they're both doing really well. We stopped distributions for a little while before the refinance, and then started them back up. And on the refi, we got back, I think it was close to 25%, 20 to 30% of our investment. So,
nice.
To the investors. Yeah. During a crappy time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's probably the biggest deal that we did numbers wise, units wise.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You always hear about different people doing different type things, and Cardone's doing hundreds of millions of deals per deal, and obviously different class of property than a C or a B.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because when you explain that to your investors, it's difficult because I'm in Greenville, South Carolina. Blaine's in Robbins, Iowa, which is Cedar Rapids. I don't have a Class A property in Greenville that would rival a Miami or a Dallas, Texas, or Monterey, California. There's nothing that exists like that.
Right.
So it's hard to explain that to people, but you go to those places, and hell, I drool over those Class A properties. I'm looking at them going, I want to live there. Put me there. I'll take it. It'd be great.
But that's the great part about investing. You don't have to live in the property that you invest in. Somebody has to live there. And if
Somebody.
you're providing a space that somebody wants, then somebody will pay.
You got it.
That's going to have returns.
That sounds like a mic drop and a screen drop. Maricela dropped right out.
She just dropped right out.
She's out of there.
Yeah, I'm done here. No,
she's done. She's like, I already dropped the mic earlier, so perfect.
That's it. She started with bombs, and we're going to drop them at the end.
That's it. She's done. I have a feeling she's going to come join you is what I think she's going to do. Chris, what would be, is she coming on? I figured she was.
He's like, I don't know if she'll be on screen. She might be a little.
There she is. She's there. She's there. She's there.
Only people can see that we actually are here together. Filmed in a different location of the apartment, but
I love it.
Yeah.
Hey, closing for you two. One takeaway that you'd like for any viewer or listener that's paying attention today, right now, one thing from each of you, because you got to do it separately. What would you want to impress upon that one person that's watching or listening today?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Chris?
Chris, go ahead.
To dovetail to hers, it's take action. Knowledge without action is useless. We met somebody in a meetup that has been studying multifamily for 5 years, and they own 0 doors. They could have made so much money in that time frame, right? They didn't even try to move forward. Take what knowledge you have, trust and believe that it's the right path, and that you have enough to, like you said, know, like, and trust whoever it is you want to work with, and move forward. You have to take action to get ahead. we all see it, right? We all see it, that just one hustle is not enough. You have to continue on and continue through the process.
So
it's
awesome.
a bigger risk to do nothing than to do something oftentimes.
And it costs you so much more, right?
Oh my
It
gosh,
costs you
no
so
kidding.
much to learn.
Isn't that the truth? Isn't that the truth? Guys, what I can't believe an hour slipped by. I feel like we've been talking for 15 minutes and I looked at the clock. I was like, crap, it's been an hour. So, hey, so awesome to spend time with you both. So impressed with everything that you're doing and you continue to do. Love you as friends. Just love what you're doing for the community at large and continuing to help others grow regardless of what avenue that may be. And, Blaine, we always screw this up, but we didn't even introduce ourselves. I'm Matt Bynum. I'm a dentist practicing in Greenville, South Carolina. And my cohort.
Blaine McLaughlin, dentist in Robbins, Iowa. Been doing this I've known Matt for over 30 years. So
wow,
we go way back. But
I'm sorry. I mean, no, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Hey guys,
I can't get away from him.
What a great hour. Thank you very much for listening. Tell your friends, share the podcast, and of course, tag everybody you can, especially with these two. What a great information we've had for an hour. And Atomic Punks, take us away. Happy trails, everybody.
Happy trails, everybody.
Who cares about the clouds when we're together? Just sing a song.